checking out the situation on the ground. We've been to the DHB, we've had a briefing from the CEO there. We met with Hastings District Council Mayor Lawrence Yule. We've been to a couple of medical centres, so Hastings Medical Centre as well as the local medical centre here, Tamata Practice in Havelock North. So what we're hearing is that the incidence of new cases is tapering off. The medical staff have dealt pretty well with what's obviously been a challenging situation, but the focus now moves to the terms of the inquiry, and Cabinet will be considering those on Monday. In terms of where we go from here, that is the main focus. So the other thing today is that MSD has announced that emergency assistance payments will be available to those who have found their employment affected during this whole episode. We've also met with people running local businesses, and they've explained to us some of the challenges that they've faced over the last week in terms of reduced custom and some of the general problems that you would imagine would happen when people are not turning up. So anyway, happy to answer any questions you've got.
Why won't you consider a medical emergency or water emergency?
Because it's not necessary at this stage. So to declare a drinking water emergency, that would be in a situation where people are not complying with what needs to be done to make sure that the drinking water is safe. In actual fact, we're getting massive cooperation across the board on that, so it's just not necessary.
But when 4,000 people are sick, they're relying on donations of water from companies, donations of food, they're lining up to get them from age concern and so forth. Why doesn't the government do more?
Well, because it's not necessary in terms of getting cooperation from the council and water suppliers. So if you were having a situation where people weren't doing what's needed to restore the water supply and making sure that people have access to a good supply of water, yes, that would constitute a case for emergency powers. But it's not necessary, because actually all the things that need to be done are being done, and the focus now has to be on the terms of reference for that inquiry.
Would you consider them giving more compensation or working with the council on this business relief package they're going to give, aside from the tax relief, further compensation for businesses?
Well, that's an issue that we have to discuss at Cabinet. So I've been here today talking with business owners, and I'll discuss that with the Prime Minister and Cabinet colleagues over the weekend
So
and Monday. Oh, look, we're very sensitive to the problems that businesses are facing here, and I'll be reporting my discussions back to the Prime Minister.
Minister, have you spoken to the Red Cross workers that are going around the homes here?
Haven't had a chance to. We've been on the ground for a couple of hours here, but I understand they've been doing a great job.
Well, I've spoken to them, and they're saying that they're encountering people in desperate situations, particularly the elderly people who don't have any water and who are holed up in their homes. So you're focusing on the investigation, but it appears there's still people out there that are struggling.
Well, we've got to make sure that people are getting water and the medical care that they need. The information I've had from the medical professionals working here in Havelock North is that people are getting that assistance. But look, if there are issues that haven't been addressed, Red Cross just need to raise those with the DHB, and we'll make sure that they're actively, dealt with.
What it requires, I think, is people on the ground. They're saying they have to reach every household. Do you think there's enough people out there at the moment walking around door knocking?
Yeah, I haven't had any information that there aren't enough people on the ground, but the Red Cross will be talking with the DHB, and all the feedback I've had is that the DHB has responded very, very well, but if there are any gaps, they will be addressed.
On the first few days, I think the Red Cross door knocked 500 odd houses every day, so it's about 1,000 to 1,500 houses seeking out people absolutely as you described.
But there are still people out there like that. It's over a week since this first happened, and people are still sitting in their houses struggling. Surely that shouldn't be happening in New Zealand.
If that is the case, they just need to ring their doctor or the DHB. We'll make sure they get the assistance they need.
These are staunch old people, though, Minister. I think they just they're sort of battling it out on their own. How do you deal with that?
Well, what we've just heard at the Tamata Medical Practice is that they've rung hundreds of elderly people to make sure that they're okay. So we would encourage anyone who feels that they do need further assistance to get in contact. It's also a time when people should be checking on their neighbours because it is a community effort to tackle something like this. But look, we're absolutely, adamant that people should get the assistance they need in terms of the medical care that they need.
Are we any closer to finding a cause?
Look, not as yet, but that will be covered in this inquiry, and we've got to set the terms for that inquiry.
What do you think about what you've seen here for something like this to happen in New Zealand? Such a widespread illness.
we've got to make sure that this never happens again. So that will be covered fully in the inquiry, and it's very important that people have confidence in the quality of the drinking water.
But
Are things under control now?
Sorry?
Are things getting under control
Well,
now?
what we're hearing is that the incidence of new cases has tapered off to a very low level. The boiling water order is still in place. So I think the local DHB as well as the council are taking all the right steps, but the focus now has to move to the terms of reference for the inquiry.
An inquiry will take months, though. That's not
Well, I
what
don't know if
people
that's
right now.
necessary. Well, I think people are getting the help that they need right now. In fact, I know they're getting the help they need. But look, the inquiry has to be done thoroughly. We've got to find out why this happened and consider all aspects of it. So the work now is on the terms of reference for the inquiry.
Doesn't this show that any untreated supply is vulnerable? Do you not now have to look at fluorinating all supplies all across New Zealand?
Well, look, not necessarily, but that will be considered in this inquiry. So we're working on those terms of reference. So the thing is, we've got to make sure that people can be absolutely confident that the water that comes out of the tap in New Zealand is clean. And clearly something's happened here. We've got to find out what that is, and we've got to ensure that it can't happen again.
Water New Zealand's come out and said that all water supplies in New Zealand should be chlorinated. Personally, what do you believe should be done?
Well, we've got to take the expert technical advice on that.
What do you think of the situation of what you've seen? How do you describe the stories you've heard?
Oh, look, it's been a major challenge for people here. There's been a lot of very unwell people, and we can't have this happening again. The medical teams and the DHB and everyone involved out in the community has responded really well, but clearly it's been a challenge, and you wouldn't want this happening again.
And they do seem to be relying on volunteers. It's not DHB staff, it's hundreds of volunteers and people giving up their own time and helping. Is that good enough?
Well, you would expect when there's a community challenge like this that the community would pull together, but we've just been at Tamata Medical Centre. It's been a professional response there. The whole team's pulled together and they've done really, really well. So I think the response actually on the ground has been excellent, and it's what you would expect in such a challenging time.
This may be more of a question for Minister Foss, but just on that tax relief package, the Cabinet is only considering it. It's not even definite yet, is it?
Well, there's a recommendation that Cabinet will be considering on Monday for for provisional tax and PAYE payments to not incur late interest payments, etc. Yes, more detail to come on that one, but Cabinet has to approve that and go through the details come Monday. But I think it sends a signal that we're very, very aware of the stresses and strains both for people and businesses across Hawke's Bay in this emergency.
Lawrence Yule said he's working on that business package, he'd like government support alongside that. Do you think another option Cabinet will consider is giving more money?
Well, this is the first option actually. So the first port of call is the Hastings District Council, who have responsibility for this issue and delivering water, and then everything subsequent to that. We're doing what we can in central government in the short space of time, because payments are due 20th, 22nd, and I think a provisional tax a few days later, to send signals to the businesses around here that we're listening. We're trying to be as accommodative as we can to help everyone get through this situation.
And any more update on how much this might have cost businesses?
No, but we've actually been asking the businesses here, give us some idea of, we all know 50%, 60% decline, 80% decline in some of the business activity. Now we're asking, well, let's talk to us about what does that actually mean? Can we quantify those numbers so there can be a more informed discussion? We seem to be coming through that town. It's busier than it has been for quite some time. Long may that continue. And now we really need to try and see how much damage has been incurred here, human, people, and of course for our community and our business community.
Cool. Okay.
Just
good.
Just
Yep.
briefly, when did you first hear about this whole thing yourself? Any sort of whisper?
Oh, look, it was while I was overseas, so it was a few days ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was when you were in Rio?
Yep, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
Did you come home because of what had happened, or?
Well, I was coming home anyway. Yep. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jess.